Hey, Internet.
How's everybody doing today? Excellent. Awesome. So today's video is going to be about core moves and juice. We're going to have some timestamps down at the bottom because there's going to be quite a bit of information in this video. Juice is probably going to, my guess would be, take up the most of this video.
The majority of it. The core moves we'll go through pretty quickly.
Yeah.
These are the player moves,
Yep.
I should say.
There's a total of 8 of them. We've got Change the Game, Convince, Face the Danger, Go Toe-to-Toe, Hit 'em with All You Got, Investigate, which also has kind of like a little sub point, which is See Through the Mist. That would be kind of like your Spidey sense kind of thing, which is kind of in the same wheelhouse. We've also got Sneak Around and Take the Risk.
And all of these are going to have their own descriptions. They all play a little bit differently. They all also have their own dynamite interactions, which are unlocked in different ways. You don't start with it, but it's on 12 plus roll on any time you use one of these moves. And they all have their own advantages and disadvantages for dynamite.
And you can check out our last video on all that info.
Exactly. So yeah, let's start it off. Change the game. When you use your abilities to give yourself or your allies an advantage, you roll, you add your power to it from your tags. On a hit, you get juice equal to your power. You have, for 7 to 9, you have a breakdown of 3 different options. From 10 plus, you have a breakdown of 3 more options or 2 options. And then on 12 plus, you have even more options if you have the dynamite unlocked.
This is pretty much going to be the most common way that you're going to get juice in this game. The rolls are basically going to, depending on your roll, is pretty much going to dictate how much juice you're going to get. Usually it's going to be a minimum of 2.
Right. And do want to at least say here, depending on what you're doing with your juice, you can't do multiple avenues. So if you're using your juice to remove a status and to heal somebody, you can't also use a juice to invoke a status and hurt somebody.
We'll get into a little bit more on this later because this is getting into the juice thing.
Yeah.
But the next one we're going to go over is going to be Convince. At its simplest terms, it would be pretty much just like your traditional, almost like I would say D&D role to an extent when you're going through and you're talking to somebody.
Talk, threaten, or seduce some other character into doing something that they would otherwise not want to do.
It's basically how you influence your target. And it's going to be determined by the tags that you invoke as well. So like if you want to use, like, let's say your power abilities where you basically can manipulate fire or something like that, heating them up would be kind of like on the intimidation side.
Sure, yeah, you could start changing the temperature of the room and making it very hot and insufferable, and that they're more likely to share information because they're uncomfortable and put off. 2 big things with this. When a character tries to influence someone to provide information, use Investigate instead. Or when you actively seek to deceive somebody, you Sneak Around. So if you're
being deceptive in any kind of way,
if you're trying to lie your way out of something, that's sneaking around. If you're looking for information, that's Investigate. This is specifically you're trying to get them to do something for you.
Yep. And again, there is going to be some dynamite stuff that's going to go that is tied to this as well, but we are not going over those because that was in our last video.
Yeah. The next one is Face the Danger. When you use your abilities to avoid an incoming hit, endure harm, resist a malign influence, or hold it together. This can be anything from another player tries to do something and you're in the way, to the MC decides that, oh, hey, yeah, you hit them with all you got, so they're going to hit you back. Sure, yeah, you can face the danger there.
Yep. In order to face the danger, though, your character must be able to defend themselves in a way you're describing it in kind of like the cinematic narrative way.
I feel like this is one of the most used ones, or it should be one of the ones that characters use the most, and it's often forgotten about because it comes up so frequently. There
are going to be some certain instances, and we'll get into those later, when face the danger can't be used, but that, again, that's going to be all affiliated with juice, and we'll get to that.
And those are rare. The only other caveat to this is whatever tags you're using to face the danger must be applicable. You couldn't use like you have a rock hard skin to prevent somebody from ripping into your mind.
Yeah, I would say that makes sense.
The tags have to be appropriate for what you're trying to resist.
It has to make sense. But if you have, like, if you're strong-minded or strong-willed, for example, if somebody tried to do something to manipulate you,
sure,
in that case,
by all means, yeah, you just have to make sure that the tags match up with whatever you're trying to resist.
Yeah. The danger in and of itself, I would say, is kind of like more of a broad term. Basically, simplest form, anything your character can do to protect itself.
Right.
Or herself.
Next one is going toe-to-toe. When you use your abilities to overcome someone or something in a struggle for control, state what your goal is. So this is your bread and butter squared up, whether that be physically squared up, mentally squared up, for whatever distance or however that works out. This is your taking a little bit, you're giving a little bit back. This is the back and forth.
Like you're going fisticuffs, you're using your martial arts, or another thing that you'd use this for would be if you're trying to physically take something from somebody, or maybe even disarm them.
And another example from the book too is shooting, like peeking out and shooting from behind cover in a gunfight. The back and forth of the gunfight is going toe to toe.
After that, we've got hit with all you got. This is going to be very similar to toe to toe, but this is more kind of like the haymaker version of it.
This is you got no defense, you're just swinging for the fence.
If I remember correctly, one of the things is like in one of the options, if you don't take it, you leave yourself open to basically a retaliation.
To trigger this move, you must have a clear shot or a golden opportunity to hit your opponent. Close quarters combat or exchange fire with fortified targets, you would use go to toe to toe. Hit with all you got is not limited to inflicting physical harm. You can just as well hit with all you got using your psychic powers. Difference is only the statuses that you deliver. If you have dynamite unlocked for any of these, those options are in the book.
Yeah, you will need the actual City of Mist player's guide again because it's not in the free starter kit, unfortunately. You can use our code if you'd like to on citymist.co.
Down there too.
Yep, down at the bottom. Code's Fader Chance. Probably should mention that part. Yeah. And then after that is Investigate. Again, I would kind of say if you're familiar with D&D, you're running your investigation checks on this. Anytime you're looking for something, you're going to want to make these checks. This can also be applied into, depending on the situation, again, kind of calling back to a convince as well. Because if you're actively trying to get information out of somebody,
that's an investigate.
It's an investigate, exactly, because you're trying to poke them for information to get from them.
Separate methods require separate tags. It's the same thing as earlier. Just make sure your tags apply in a coherent way. You couldn't use something that doesn't work. One other alternate move that they have in the book is See Through the Mist. It's investigation adjacent. It's an optional that they have in Investigate, but it's essentially the same thing. The only difference is instead of rolling and adding your tags, you roll and add how many mythos you have, and it's is like more or less your mythoi just giving you a clue as opposed to you finding the clue.
It's like the intuition. It's like your spidey sense, essentially.
It's your gut feeling. It's your sixth sense. It's just...
And you can really use kind of either one of these.
It depends on how you build your character.
And it's all... the only thing that's going to change is the way you apply your power tags.
And the flavor of it.
Yep.
I like the idea of having somebody who never investigates. They just... if they're supposed to have the answer, they're given the answer. Like they're given the clue if they need it.
Yep, you get the clues from it. The method for this batch of clues is your method of connecting with your mythos. So you're going to kind of set up the scenario where maybe you're sitting there for a second, you're thinking to yourself, and maybe they're whispering things into your ear.
Sure.
Or maybe you're seeing some kind of flashes in your mind.
Or maybe they send a messenger bird. And the bird,
that's a good one.
The bird lands on your shoulder and whispers a secret in your ear and gives you the clue. Or
the bird just drops like a little note right there.
Or the bird drops a note. Or the animals of the world come to you and bring you clues and point things out. Or there's a lot of different ways you could do this. You open a book and whatever is inside the book is the answer that you see. You just randomly open a book and there it is.
So the next one that we've got is sneaking around. It can stack with other moves depending on the situations that you kind of put yourself in. As a
like if you're trying to get into an enclosed building to go find the files that somebody has on
your case in the joint.
Yeah, you would sneak in. You sneak around to get in, and then you use investigate once you're inside. So you have to use more than one sometimes. Sometimes you don't, but for anything that's more than just surface level information, you would have to use multiple.
Yeah. One thing that we actually haven't talked about, and that's actually a really good situation, is you'll be in a scenario to where you will actually want to have multiple moves involved in a certain situation that you may be in the game.
Yep. I want to investigate. Okay, now that I have that information, cool. I'd like to convince them to do something while I try to sneak out back.
Yeah, and right out of the book, it says sneak around only applies when the focus of the action is subtlety. If subtlety is a secondary goal of the action, use a different move.
Right. So you're trying to lie your way into a club. You're trying to sneak through the back door without being seen. You're trying to hide in the bushes. Anything that is, you're trying to be subtle, you're trying to be deceptive, you're trying to sneak around and do something without getting caught, then that's where
you're being a rogue.
Yeah. Moving on from that one.
And right after that one, we're going to move on to Take a Risk. This is I'm gonna quote this because I think it sounds really funny. Such feats are often all or nothing, while there can be complications. As a player's guide, it says high stakes involved imply the action as a whole can either succeed or fail.
There's no middle ground here.
There's no middle ground.
This is a daring, bold, or sometimes downright just stupid attempt at trying to do something that otherwise wouldn't happen. This is the Keanu Reeves jumping from one building to the other.
It's the jumping out of a window and you have no idea what's going
down
on
there.
outside.
Yeah, it's the hoping for the best and just going for it. Other moves that are included in this for MC or for players that we haven't talked about are considered cinematic moves. There's a couple of dramatic moments that are considered moves. Monologue, and we're just going to cover these really fast. These come up either in between sessions or they're a big dramatic moment that has huge ramifications on the rest of the game.
Also happens, one of the things too that you can't acquire juice during is going to be during the downtime as well.
The monologue, the flashback, which flashback is something that should be used a little bit frequently. The montage,
session, it's
which is move. Your downtime is the montage, and that's also goes hand in hand with geeking out during the credits. One's during downtime, one's after the session. Making a hard choice is a dramatic moment.
And another dramatic moment that's going to be kind of impactful and actually opens to some pretty gnarly stuff to happen is going to be the stop holding back move. Basically, when you as a character are giving it all you've got, and there's going to be some repercussions for it. But it could be good, but if you fail, it can be detrimental to you as a player.
Your character could die, your character could lose a theme, your character could just lose all tags. It depends on the severity. So this video's ran a little bit long. So with that being said, we're going to actually put a part 2 on this one, and the part 2 will be everything juice. So for now,
thank you so much for watching.
Thanks. Yeah.
Catch us on the Twitters, comment section. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions about any of the moves at this point. Until next time, stay awesome, be excellent, and please love each other. We're out.
We'll see you.
Peace.